Working. So hi again. Today we'll be crafting and we'll be using the products from Papercraft Society box. Here I have it with me. And besides, you will only need the products from the box, but there is something else that you are going to need. They are very basic supplies. We'll be using some sheets of plain white cardstock, any cardstock that you have. Then you are going to need your die cutting machine, of course, then a paper trimmer plus a scoring board. Of course, we're going to need your liquid adhesive and scissors. Maybe we'll be using some markers or the pencils later on to add some details if we need them. So this time I would like to make a fun fold card with you. So let's unpack the box. We are going to use that die set that is included. We'll be also using the stamps plus some other products. So this is the die set. We are going to do some die cutting first, and we are going to need the 2 sheets of plain cardstock that are included in the set. I'm really hungry for spring, so I'll be using the green ones, but you can use the pink or gray ones, just whatever you prefer. They are all the same size. They are A5 format. So this is what we're going to use first. Let me take other things out of the way. And so we are going to create the card base first. Here I roughly sketched the template that we are going to use. Please don't try to memorize it, because we'll be doing everything step by step. It's just a reference. So first we are taking our scoring board, placing it right here. If you don't have a scoring board, you can use a ruler, just any ruler, plus the side of the scissors, and you can make a score line this way. So let's place it into the scoring board and score according to template. Place your paper horizontally. Hello everyone, by the way, I'll be answering the comments. I'll try to do that as we craft along. But now let's do the scoring. So place your paper horizontally and score it at 2 inches and then 2 1/4. We'll do that a couple of times. Then flip over the cardstock, and again we are scoring it at 2 inches and 2 1/4. So this is the template that we are going to use. Now we're gonna fold it zigzag wise, just like this, inwards and outwards, and this is the template. This is the shape that you want. And by the way, it's very similar to the one that is created with my latest die set. It's from the Vintage High Street collection. This is basically the same mechanism, and by the way, if you have it, you can totally use that one, because that cupboard that we'll be using later fits inside perfectly, fits into that window. But I assume that you don't have that set, so today we're using just the products from the box, and we'll be creating the similar construction but a little bit different. This one is really deep. We'll be making a much shallower one this time. So the next thing we are going to make is I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and we're going to trim the second piece of cardstock to 2 1/2 inches. by, let me extend it, by 7 3/4. 7 3/4, just like that. So here I have the measurements here. It's 2.5 by 7 3/4. Then I'm placing it into my scoring board again, and I'm going to create the 2 notches like you see here. So they are, first I'm scoring everything at 1/4 of an inch from the edge, just like that. Then I'm placing that score line to the top of the scoring board, just like this. And then I'm scoring it at 2 inches from one side and 2 inches from the other side, just like that. Then I can take my scissors and I'm basically removing the 2 rectangles, the 2 smaller rectangles at the top of this shape. And this is what we should get at the moment. By the way, I shouldn't have created those 2 lines. I shouldn't have scored it all the way through, but that's not a problem really. Maybe it will be even better. So you see, I didn't make this project before, so I'm just creating it the first time, just like I normally create in all my projects. So, but this time you can see the entire process, because nothing is edited. So now all we have to do is to score, to fold down this little flap here. Then we are going to apply some adhesive, and you can use your liquid adhesive or your tape. I wonder where I have my tape. Let's use the tape here, but liquid one will work just as fine. So I'm applying the adhesive onto those areas only that are to the sides of the flap, these ones. So here we go. And then I'm going to attach this shape to the first one, and I'm lining it up with the bottom. So I'm going to stick down both sides, just lining up the corners like this. And this is the shape that we are going to get. Here it is. By the way, it can be folded flat, so you just push this flap up, and then you fold it like this. See, and then it's going to fit into the envelope. So this is the bench card mechanism that we created by ourselves. And now we are going to use our dies. So first let's do some die cutting. This is going to be a lengthy process, I think. Let's just open up the machine, take our white cardstock. Here are the plates. Some white cardstock. And let's do the die cutting. We're going to need this larger cupboard die. Plus we'll be using the 2 legs. Plus we are going to need this drawer and the panels. So I think we'll also be using this insert that creates the keyholes. So I'll flip over the dies. Hope you can see there. I'll put it right here. So now we are connecting these 2 dies with a piece of tape or a couple of pieces of tape. And then we'll be sending them through the die cutting machine. Just do that die cutting. these dies will work with any die cutting machine. I have the not a 6-inch, I have the 8-inch one, but the 6-inch one will work just as fine. So here we have everything die cut, and now I think we'll have to do some more die cutting, because for this project we are going to need 3 cupboard shapes and 6 legs. So let's flip it over and repeat this process. Maybe, yeah, the legs and a couple of panels again. Maybe I'll place them over here. Just take your time and die cut everything we need. Oops, always not enough space. There we go. I'll take this one out of the way. So that's the second shape. And then we're going to create the third one. Here are the legs. Poke this one out. And do the die cutting one more time. So here's what I have. And I'm going to send it through just one more time. Platinum is the die cutting machine that creates a bit more pressure than most of the machines. So sometimes you really have to push through, but it does a great job. So there we go. Let's poke everything out. So we just needed 1 sheet of cardstock. I will use a piece of cardstock, green cardstock that I have left, and I'm going to die cut only the drawer shape, if I find it. So there we go. Here is the drawer, here is the cardstock. I just have to remove that keyholes, and I'm going to die cut them separately. You'll see later why I'm doing that. The die also creates some not the score lines, but maybe the score lines, the debossed lines that are for decorative purposes. They imitate the real wood paneling. So now I'm going to take the die cutting machine out of the way just for now. And let's do some assembly. So here are all the die cuts that we've made. And now I'm I'm going to attach them to the card base. So this cupboard shape is going to fit right inside here, and this is exactly how I'm going to attach it. I think just to add more interest, I'm going to create the background for the cupboards. So I'm going to use one of the papers from the set. They are all coordinating, so you can totally use the pink one if you like. I think I'll go a bit more monochromatic and I'll choose the green paper. So it's quite simple now. You just have to cut out the matching piece of paper. There we go. And attach it behind the cupboard, all three of them actually. So I'll cut out the 3 pieces. And now the third one, just like this. And now I'm going to back up each cupboard shape with that piece of green paper. I'm applying some glue all around this window opening, and then I'm sticking it down onto the paper. And I'll do that to all 3 cupboards that I have. And by the way, this video will be available on CraftStash, so even if you didn't start from the beginning, you can still watch it and craft along. Let's poke out the shapes from the inside here. And the third one, exactly the same way. That's really a new experience for me, guys, because before that I only did the edited videos, so feeling a bit nervous. So now I have all the 3 cupboards backed up with the paper. I'm going to attach them onto the card. So the first one is going to go right here in the center. So I can apply some liquid glue again. And attach it right there. Liquid adhesive does allow me to move the die before it's fixed in place. And I'm going to attach it. You can put it lower or higher, but I think I'll make this crown of the cardboard stick out of the card, just like that. This way it will be a bit more interesting, I believe. Here, not too straight. So there we go. With the remaining 2, I'm going to trim down those cupboards just to fit on the sides of my card. So I can use the paper trimmer for that, or just the ruler and the craft knife. Actually, this is the way that I love doing such things with, because I do have a lot of control and I can see exactly where I'm cutting. So I'm going to repeat the same on the other side. I'll do the same to the remaining shape. I think I'm staying somewhere in the corner and I have to move to the center. It's all so new to me. There we go. So now, maybe I have to trim them just a little. No, that's okay. So now I'm going to apply some adhesive. This time tape will do just fine because I don't have to make any complicated alignments. Applying the tape right here, and I'm going to stick it down at the same level so that the crown is just above the card. Just like this. You can move it to the side so that you can press it against the table. Then I can place this flat back and repeat this process on the other side. Let's attach the next one. Again, it should stick just out of the card at the top. Now we can place the flap back and see how it looks like. And here we have our cupboard. So now I guess I didn't make enough of them. So we have to die cut one more cupboard. So we are going to use the same die here. And I'm just going to send it through the die cutting machine. Placing it right over here and sending it through. Way, and I'm going to use this shape to complete the cupboard on the front of my card. So here I'm going to trim it down just using the scissors, and I'm lining it up with the window just like this. And now I'm going to use just that bottom of the cupboard, and I'm going to attach it to the front of the card. There we go. Poking it out. And here I'm going to line it up. Let's fold it down with the fold line on the card, just like this, and I'm centering it. And this way, this cupboard is going to be a bit larger and a bit more dimensional because it has that shelf right over here. So now, since we have some space underneath, we can also attach the legs. So I think it's just about applying some glue and sticking everything down. Here I'm squeezing out the glue, and I can actually tuck those legs underneath the cupboard here, or maybe there, just at the two sides. Luckily, this glue dries clear and invisible. Otherwise, it would be a problem for me, because sometimes I get messy. So here we go, attaching another piece. Like this. And I think I can also attach the legs to the remaining two cupboards, just at the sides. Or I can keep them as they are. I have actually created the legs for all three cupboards, but I think I'm gonna wait. I like those two just as they are. This way they look as if they are wall mounted. So I think it makes sense. Now what we can do is we can take the two die cuts that we have created. This is the drawer. And we can attach it like this or like that. I don't even know. I think I like the green one, so this one will go on top. Although initially I meant the white one to be the top one. But that's fine. We're just creating as we go. There. So now I'm going to attach the drawer onto the front of the card, and this is going to add some color and some dimension to that cupboard. So I'm also going to add the panels exactly the same way, and here I'm going to do my favorite technique, which is the layering of die cuts. It's super simple, nothing complicated at all, but it really does add a lot of difference, especially with the detailed die cuts. This layering really makes the handmade card a really different project from the one that's printed. All the attention. It's a bit tedious to look at. But this is crafting. So now I'm going to attach these panels at the sides of the window, at both sides on the central cupboard, just like this. And you know, if I added just one die cut, if you see here, it wouldn't stand out just as much as the three. Especially if your color scheme is limited or you're going white on white. That really does make sense. There. Great. Here we also have made those tiny two keyholes, and I think I'm going to attach them at both sides right onto the panels. And I'm going to use my pickup tool. If you don't have it, you can also use the poke tool. It will also work for lifting up the die cuts. Just like that. It's funny because when I finished some of the stages, it's my instinct just to stop the camera, have a break, you know, and then continue crafting. But live videos are not the case. I have to learn about that. Oh, I see I have two. I forgot about them. I have two more keyholes here, but those are white, and I think they will be perfect for attaching onto that drawer here. Okay, the glue. So that's lucky find. That's a lucky find. So I'm going to attach them right over here. To add even more little details. So now we have our cupboard ready, and I think we just have to fill it in with whatever we want. And this is what we have: other small die cuts in the set, as well as the stamps. Now let me just take out everything from the surface here. Garbage. Just making sure not to throw away the dies. Into the bin. There, so here we have our stamps. And I think the easiest way to use them is to stamp them out onto the sticker paper. And I have their regular sticker paper. It's not even from a craft supply store. I got it at the stationery store, and it's really convenient just to stamp everything out, cut it out, and then stick it down. But I'm assuming that you don't have a sticker paper, you might not have it at hand. So we are going to stamp everything on a regular paper. And then we are going to do some fussy cutting. And this is what I would like to suggest. I think it's better to use that paper from the set or any other one-sided patterned paper, because, and we're going to stamp at the wrong side here, at the white side, just because it's just the right thickness. It's not as thin as the printer paper, and it's not a thick cardstock, because thick cardstock is not very convenient for fussy cutting. You will get a curled up edge that is not really tidy looking. So now let's just take our stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it out. I think I'm not even going to unmount all the stamps. I'll take the whole sheet of paper, and I'm going to apply the ink. The ink I'm using is from the box. It's included. I think I'll be using this navy blue one this time, just to make some blue and white china. But I think for the cakes and things like for the cakes, I'll be using the gray one because it's more neutral. Okay, I'm going to unmount the cakes, stamp them separately. But with all the dishes, I'll be using the navy blue one. So let's start with the larger shape. I'm not going to stamp the bottom, all that bottom area of the stamp set, because it's mostly the patterns that you can decorate your plates and cups with, and there are also some sentiments, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to stamp up everything, and then I'm going to choose what I will be using for this project. So just placing the paper on top, pressing it down. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, but I think it's fine. Just great. I'm so glad it worked. So now let's move on to the cakes and cookies. Maybe make some more. I normally don't do a lot of stamping, but this time I think I'll go wild with that. So, and now I think the most relaxing part for you, or if you're not crafting along, it might be the most boring, but we have to go ahead and just cut out those images. In fact, it's easier to do than it seems because the outlines are pretty easy. The images themselves are really intricate, but all the intricacy is within those outlines. I'll be using that tablecloth, sure. And as you can see, we can make it into the cupboard, or we can make it into the bookcase, because there's also lots of books right over here. Or we can combine the two, and I think this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to use everything I can. There are some matching dies for some of the images, but I really want to keep a consistent look, so I don't think I'll be using the matching dies this time. I'll just go with the scissors. Thanks everyone for joining me, by the way. I really was expecting that I will be crafting alone. So this image is already cut out, nearly. This one is the largest one, so it's the most intricate. The pretty thing about this set is that it does not require coloring. If you want to color it in, you can totally do that. But since there are so many detailed lines and shadings and patterns, you can totally keep them as they are without any coloring or even shading. We'll see how it looks after I attach all the images onto the cardboard. I'll see that maybe if I need any shading or if I need to add any color, I'll do that. And if I don't, then I don't. And by the way, it's okay. I'm trying to follow in the outlines here, but it's totally fine if you decide to leave a thin border all around the images. I don't think it will do any harm to our composition here. But leaving a border definitely makes the process just a bit easier and a bit quicker. Oops. It's just like playing with the doll tea sets, but they're only that these are two-dimensional. After we make all the cups and saucers and teapots, we can play around with them and we can arrange them at the shelves. There we go. Just a few images pages left. I think it's a great project to do with children or with other members of your family. You can just ask them to help you to do all the fussy cutting. And by the way, when you are fussy cutting, it's way more convenient to rotate. That's what my children always trying to do. They trying to rotate the scissors, and then it just doesn't work too well. What you have to do is to slightly rotate the paper, just like this. You see, I'm working with my left hand and simply rotating it in my right hand, and just squeezing the scissors and letting them go. This way it's much quicker and neater as well. So there we go. I'm not sure if I'm going to use that tiny tea bag, but this milk jug is definitely very pretty. I like blue and white china, by the way, and these are the colors that I always try to, this color scheme I always try to stick to when I'm choosing the porcelain or the ceramics for my house, for my kitchen. I already have quite a lot of blue plates and cups and things like that. I'm going to cut out the books as well. Books are really easy. Image. There we go. So what else can we do? I think I'll try to cut out this frame. I don't know if we are going to use it, but it might be useful. There we go. I don't yet know how exactly we're going to arrange everything. This flower image is a bit more intricate, but you don't have to cut out all the details. Just roughly follow the outline. There we go. So maybe I'll cut out the cookies later. And now what I think I will do is the stamp set has some sentiments, and I've seen the teeny tiny word T here. That sentiment goes, but first T. I think I'll just go with the T. Luckily, the ink cubes are very small, and you can apply them to the part of the image just like we would mask it. I think we can do without the masking. And I'm going to stamp that T word onto one of the books. So that will be a book about the tea. And maybe onto some other book. Or not. Maybe onto some other book. Like this. I'm choosing the thickest book here. There we go. So, and now let's try and arrange everything on the shelves. Just see how it's going to look like. This is the largest image, so probably this one will go in the center. Then this doily can be placed here, or we can place it over there. I think this is the nice position for it. The books can fill in the entire shelf. So does the flower. Or we can place it just onto the floor, on the floor like this. Just let me see. I'm just playing around. I'm trying to decide where everything is going to look best. There is no need to put a lot onto each of the shelves. Just 1 or 2 items will be fine. There, tea box. Love that tea box. Yeah. And by the way, if you have any other small images in your stash, like for instance tiny birds or cats and dogs, maybe cats will be better, you can also put them on the shelf. It could be stamps or dies, or it could be embellishments. Maybe you have breads, or maybe you have some like chipboard shapes. Just anything that might work with that scale. I think I'm also going to use this plate here to add it onto the empty space, onto one of the shelves here. So I think it's a nice arrangement. So you see that I just didn't use the largest stamps here that are a bit different scale. They are the same as that teapot but larger. All others work great with the cupboard. So all we have to do now is to lift up the images, apply some glue and stick them back down. There we go, just one by one. Try not to lose anything. And by the way, I'm trying to read the comments now, but it's not always possible since I have to follow the project as well. But I will definitely look through all of them after the video is finished, and I'll try to answer all the questions. as always, as you probably know, this cupboard also works with other Paper Discovery dies from other collection. There are lots of furniture dies, and they are the same scale as this cupboard, so you can mix and match this cupboard with other furniture and also with the accessories. So there are lots of small dies that you can use with that cupboard, and you can also use these small images from this box with the furniture from other Paper Discovery releases. Oops. So there's lots of small details, so we have to do the same thing repeatedly, but I think it makes our project so much more lifelike. I'm also going to attach this doily. This one is going to work as a tablecloth here. There we go. Again, I'm lining it up with the edge of the cupboard here. Then you can fold the flap back down to make the card 3D again. Yes, and I will place this flower onto the floor here. And I think, let's have a look. I think I won't be using the cakes at all. Not this time. But they can definitely be used. You can actually arrange them on plates or on top of the doily. There is also the matching dies for them as well. So I think I can hardly stand it. You can add the same flower right over here. I really want to add the sleeping cat image. It's one of my favorite dies from one of Paper Discovery sets, but I think this time we really are going to stick to the box. So maybe make one more flower there. Or to make it different from this one, I think I'm going to take one of these images here, and I'm going to change it just a tiny bit. It's easy to do. You just have to trim down the legs, and maybe I'll leave the handles, but I'm trimming off the lid, and I'm going to turn this sugar basin or whatever it is into a vase. And I'm going to place the flowers inside. So this is how I do it. This is the vase, and I'm going to stamp that little flower again. So here's the stamp. I'm going to use the same ink. I'm keeping everything very, very monochromatic, adding as little colors as I can. If you like more color, you can always use your favorite media and color everything in. So I'm going to cut out just the leaves this time. And then I'm going to add them into the vase. Cutting them out. Then rotating the paper instead of rotating the scissors. Then I'm at the bottom of the shape, adding it into the vase or into the flower pot. It can be anything, just the way you think of it. And I'm going to stick it down onto the other side of the card. This ink is permanent, so you see when there's a little bit of glue on my fingers, but I'm not smudging the ink at all. So that's really convenient, especially if you get messy like me. So this is what the card looks like. I think it's pretty much finished at the moment. You can totally add something else to it, maybe some more details. I think it's a nice place for a sentiment, actually. Oh, that's a nice one. Life is like a cup of tea. It's all about how you make it. So let's just stamp this sentiment right at the bottom of the card. And this way we're not going to leave the empty space, but there will be a nice message there. Just adding some ink, not using any stamping tools here, because it seems to work just as is. There's the sentiment. And at the moment, I think my card is complete. I will not be adding any coloring because I like blue and white just as is, and I like how it works with that green color. Actually, all the papers and cardstock that are in the box do coordinate with each other. So you can choose any, you can combine them just like you want. So this is what the finished card looks like. It's quite dimensional. It's 1/4 of an inch deep, and of course you can push this flap from the bottom just like that, and this way the card can be folded totally flat. Here we go. And you can send it in an envelope. And of course, as I mentioned, you can also, if you have the Vintage High Street bench card mechanism die set, I wonder where I put it here. You can also use the same dice from the box with this mechanism. It's just going to make the card base creation a lot easier, because everything is created with the dice at one pass through the machine. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you for watching. Let me know how you like the video, what I have to work on. Maybe there is not enough light, or you don't hear me well enough. Just don't be afraid to tell me about that. I hope you liked today's session. And I hope to see you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining me.